Good morning, my dear children. Today we are going to study History Chapter 2 New Kings and Kingdoms. The topic is the emergence of new dynasties. Many new dynasties emerged after the 7th century. What is the meaning of emerged? Developed. Landlords or warrior chiefs. You know landlords? Those who are having the lands, they are called the landlords. Warrior chiefs means they are the military chiefs. Were acknowledged means recognized as samantas by the existing kings. So during the 7th century, landlords, those who are having land, zamindars or warrior chiefs, they were recognized as the samantas. Samanta, you can say that it is a type of title given by existing kings. As the Samantas gained wealth and power, they declared themselves to be Mahasamanta and even asserted their independence. So, as Samantas gained wealth and power, now the kings, they gave the Samantas the power as well as wealth. Then after some times, they declared themselves as Mahasamanta and even asserted means declared their independence. Rashtrakutas, for example, in the Deccan overthrew the Chalukyas of Karnataka. In some cases, men from enterprising families used military skills to build kingdoms. So last point, what it says? In some cases, men from enterprising families used military skills. They developed some military skills, warfare skills, by fighting, and afterwards they built their own kingdoms. They were not the Samantas, they were not the Mahasamantas, they were not the kings, but by using their power and the military skill, they built their own kingdoms. Brahmanas like Kadamba Mayura Sharman and Harichandra took up arms and established their kingdoms in Karnataka and Rajasthan. So here two names are mentioned, Mayura Sharman and Harichandra. Now one point we have to understood that both they are the Brahmanas. Usually in the olden days, Brahmanas, they were either engaged in the teaching work or the priest, all these things. But they took up arms just like Kshatriya. They took up arms and established their kingdoms in Karnataka and Rajasthan. Next, administration in the kingdom. High-sounding titles like Maharajadiraja, Tribhuvana Chakravarti, and so on were adopted by the new kings. As I told you, these Samantas, Mahasamantas, they declared their independence. Now they are the new kings and they adopted high-sounding title Maharajadiraja, great king. Tribhuvana Chakravarti, lord of three worlds, like that, were adopted by the new kings. The kings shared power with their Samantas and association of peasants, traders and Brahmanas. And the kings, they thought, such a big empire I cannot manage for that purpose. He shared the power with their Samantas. Some of the administration works given to the Samantas to look after the administration. Then the association of peasants, farmers, traders and Brahmanas, like that, ultimately the work is divided. States obtained resources from the producer as rent. Now the states or the kingdom, they obtained resources. They got resources from the producers. Those who were producing as rent in the form of grains, in the form of money, whatever they have produced, out of that a little portion they have to give to the state as rent. Now also we are doing the same thing, but we are not giving rent, but we are giving in the name of tax. We are paying the tax. Revenue was also collected from the merchants. Merchants, the one who used to carry the trade, and from there also tax or the revenue used to be collected, or they were collected from them. The king used these resources to strengthen his kingdom and for the construction of temples, forts, and to fight wars. Okay. Whatever the money collected from the merchants, from the peasants, all it is now in the treasury or in the state treasury, and that money is being used by the king for the construction of temples or forts or to fight wars. Revenue collectors were recruited. Recruited means appointed from influential families, and these positions were often hereditary. Now, who is allowed to collect the revenue? Only some of the persons from influential families, those who were very near to powerful family, or those who are very near to the king or to the Samantas, Mahasamantas, isn't it? And their relatives or their powerful persons or influential families, and once it was given means the post was in hereditary. After the death of that person, that revenue collection responsibility was given to his son. Okay. Then prasastis and land grants. You have already studied prasastis, isn't it? So prasastis tell us how rulers wanted to depict. Depict means to show something or somebody through painting like that. Themselves as valiant. Valiant means courageous and victorious warriors. Let us see prasasti. We have already studied in praise of. In praise of. Normally written by the Brahmins, isn't it? They tell us how rulers wanted to depict. They wanted to show themselves how, as if they are the very courageous and victorious warriors. They wanted to show themselves, they wanted to portray themselves as the courageous persons or victorious persons. Details in the prasasti composed by the Brahmanas may not be true but provide extensive information. Extensive means lot of information about the ruler and his administration. Whatever the prasastis composed by the Brahmanas, it may not be true in detail, but it used a vivid information about the ruler and his administration. Grants of land to the Brahmanas by the kings were recorded or copper plates. So we have seen class 6 also that kings used to give grants to the Brahmanas, and that was recorded on copper plates. Kalhana, for example, a Sanskrit author used a variety of sources like inscriptions, documents, eyewitness accounts, and history in his works. So Kalhana is used all these sources to write history in his works. Next, warfare for wealth. Dynasties were based in a specific region but tried to control the other areas. Kannauj, where it is? It is in Uttar Pradesh. Kannauj in Ganga Valley was one such center of conflict between Gurjar Pradihara, Rashtrakuta and Pala dynasties. The long-drawn conflict is known as tripartite struggle as the three parties were involved in it. So, who are the three parties involved in it? Gurjar Pradiharas, Rashtrakutas and Palas. And what was their reason or their conflict? They wanted to acquire Kannauj. Since three parties were involved in that struggle is known in the history as tripartite struggle. Now, temples were the common targets during the attacks as they were extremely rich. They used to attack directly on temple because temples were the sources of or richness or wealth. You can see the deities means image of the deities. Either it is made of silver or gold. Okay. And these attackers were wanted to attack the wealth. Mahmud Ghazni, very famous in the history of India, raided the Indian subcontinent almost every year and targeted wealthy temples like Somnath in Gujarat and carried away all the wealth. He is a cunning person and he was moving that this Somnath, Gujarat is very famous, very rich temple and almost every year he used to raid and he used to take away wealth of this temple. Let's see how many times he attacked. He attacked Somnath temple in 17 times. Okay. Next, Al-Biruni, an interested scholar of Mahmud, wrote Kitab al-Hind in Arabic. Other kings were engaged in warfare were Chauhans who ruled regions around Delhi and Ajmer. Chauhans were engaged in conflict to be the Chalukyas of Gujarat and the Gahadawalas of western UP. Chauhans, they were ruling Chauhans. They were also called as Chahamanas. Very important person you know about the Prithviraj Chauhan. Okay. Prithviraja III was a popular Chauhan ruler who defeated Afghan ruler Muhammad Ghori in 1191 but lost to him in 1192. So, two dates are mentioned. In the year 1191, Prithviraja Chauhan is defeating Muhammad Ghori. So, in the very next year, 1192, Muhammad Ghori, he comes with the very, I can say, well-established force. He defeats Prithviraj III. Okay. The remaining session will be continued in the next class. Thank you.